It is my privilege and joy that we can continue our Bible study in the Crucible with Christ. And today we have the subtitle, The Birdcage. We all know that Malachi 3:2 says, "But who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap." The day is at hand in which the Lord will come. And in that day, he will find two kinds of people. The ones who are in a cage, the prisoners. And he will find also the one that are free. Those who are in the cage will happen to them, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And that day that cometh shall burn them up, says the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and he shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Yes, on that day it will be shown on whose side you and I am. Then it will be revealed that which is inside of us. If we are free of that cage we are born in, or if we are prisoners of that cage. Before that day cometh, he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. So he will work through this crucible that we might be pure that day, so that we can await for him with the crowds of people that we gathered into his garner through the work that he has done us to do in these last days, to bring that offering in righteousness. There will be nothing in us anymore impure. Now, we have understood what is to be pure or impure. To be in the truth means to be clean, holy, righteous, and so on. And on the other side, to be in a lie means to be unclean, unholy, unjust, prisoner, godless, and lawless. So we have one issue, and that issue is this lie that we must eliminate in order to become the truth. We know the lie is inside the spirit, and the spirit is a closed system. From outside, you cannot wash him. He must be washed from inside out. Some people think when they have washed outside themselves in their nice behavior, then they are free and can do what they want. Then they are accepted with God. No. Our issue is inside. Try to wash a glass which is unclean inside by washing it just outside. Let's see if you ever get that inside clean just washing outside. I hope you will see it won't work. The inside remains unclean except you take and wash it from inside. So we have an inside issue in our spirit. And this inside issue is this self-deception that makes us unable to know ourselves. And what makes it even more difficult is that we cannot see the depth of the human self-deception. You see, I don't hear preaching about it. I don't see that people in the Christian teaching put an emphasis on the depth of the human degradation. No. What we can do, how we can keep the law, and how we can do this by this method or by that method or whatever. There is no awareness in Christianity of the decay of our sinful nature, of our being through this sinful nature. We don't know how evil that nature is. That's why we don't preach about it, because it's not something in our, how can I say, in our awareness. We believe you're fine. Like the Jews thought that when they keep all the outside thing, they will be accepted and all will be right. But that is not so. We put the emphasis on the impurity that's coming from outside. We see that we should not watch TV or do this or that or other things just to think that the devil is outside of us, while the problem is just inside of us. The deception makes us that we are always careful to keep outwardly clean, while we are inside unclean. So without a crucible, there is no chance of becoming pure. He comes from outside because there we have our needs, but he comes to reveal to us our inside, showing if we inside in the cage or not. Without the crucible, we will never see that we have an inner issue, not an outside issue. So we have the image of the bird in the cage, the birdcage. And we know that story. We know that parable of the bird singing its song only in darkness. Yes. The question is just, are we aware that the cage is in us, not outside of us? Yes, the darkness that comes to us comes from outside. The crucible, the issues must come from outside. But are we aware that we are taking ourselves in prison by our own way of thinking? Through the outer difficulties, man can recognize his inner captivity. It's so amazing to see. My patients and I myself, we go through difficult circumstances. And instead of keeping our mind free, we put even a greater problem on our mind. It is not enough that we go through difficulties. Shall we now put more pressure on us because of that? But that is how we do it. Because our self-deception is so cunningly, so decisive, so divisive. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Desperately wicked. And we must know it in order to change it. So when Adam and Eve fell into sin, they didn't realize that they caught themselves in a cage. Not an outside cage, no. It was an inside cage. But that cage darkened their mind. They were now lost, but they thought everything is fine with them. Like the people today, they go to church, they keep their rituals, they don't steal, they don't commit adultery, they don't kill. They do only what is right. So they must be free. Are they? That's why God could not let them, Adam and Eve, in the Garden of Eden. Because there, where they could satisfy all their needs easily as God has made it, now they would not see their inner cage. That's why he had to bring them out. Take them out of the garden. Give them difficulties so that they might understand that they have an inner captivity. They are an inner birdcage. And in that cage, if they don't see it, they will never want to get rid of it. So, this is how God doesn't let us just pass by. That's why it is His goodness and His grace that brings us into the crucible. Even though we don't like it. And He knows it isn't a pleasure. It is not a pleasure for Him as well, because He suffers together with us. But there's no way to see the cage. It's no way to see the captivity except by this difficult outside circumstances. God brought his people from Egypt from their outside captivity. Because it's also an interesting idea. You hear it all over, because now about the virus, you hear that we are invaded by the virus of sin, infected by the virus of sin. Friends, that means that it comes from outside. We must understand the information that comes to our mind, because if the information that comes to our mind is wrong, we will go into the wrong direction. We are not infected. We are. Or better say, the virus is in us. We are born with it. The problem is within. The cage is not Egypt. So they left Egypt. God brought them out of the outside cage, as he will bring us out also in the day when he comes into the new world in which there is no outside circumstances, difficulty anymore. But he can do that only when the inside is clear. Because if we would come into heaven with the same uncleanness in our hearts, we will exchange heaven into that what we have done on the earth. So God brings them out of the outside cage from Egypt, and he brings them into a dead end, into a situation where they have no escape. From one side, the Egyptians, on the other side, the mountain, and in front of them, the sea. They are in a cage. No escape. What do? They murmur. And they say, was it not good to be an Egyptian slave? You see, when we have overcome a certain situation in our lives that is past and come into a more difficult one, because that's the only way how we can learn from difficult to more difficult, we reveal, like they reveal, their inner cage. They reveal their inner captivity. And they say, the other circumstance was still better than this one. Really? Was it? It looks like sometimes. Better that we have overcome, that we got used to being slaves there in Egypt, than now being killed by the Egyptians. God brought them into this situation to show them who he is, that he is their God. And he came into this pillar of cloud, which on one side gave light, on the other side darkness. The Egyptians couldn't come forward because it was too dark, until under the light of God, the people of Israel went through the Red Sea that he separated. They went through those two walls of water on a dry land. What a marvelous miracle of God. Shouldn't it have made the people of Israel to never doubt God's goodness again? To never doubt that he is with them? And God also showed them that he is a God of judgment. And he brought the judgments over the Egyptians. The sins of the Pharaoh and the state of the Egyptians has come to a point where God has to bring judgment over them. And his judgment was final. And it represents also the final judgment. Here is the sea of water, and there will be the sea of fire. God will bring judgment. There is no way. Because the evil cannot exist and coexist with the good. The evil has only so long grace as to become good. as to be free from that evil. But if people harden their heart, and all the effort of God fails them to make them aware about the deception, He must bring the judgment over them. And that we will also experience in our days, in these last days. God is serious. But now the people go further into the desert. They are happy that they were rescued from the Egyptians. They sang a nice song. And you must expect now that these people are free inside, are they? That whenever they come into another difficulty, they will say, well, the Lord already has a solution for this. Because it's about Him, not about me. And yes, does God have a solution before the problem comes? Yes, He has it. But we don't see it. And here faith must be that what keeps us on. But what do the Israelites do? They murmur. And they murmur again and again. Until they come to the border of Canaan. 10 times God has shown up so that they should have no excuse for their hardened heart. He has helped them to see their cage. But obviously, it didn't work. Jesus came on the earth. He also went into the desert after His baptism. He went to the desert to be tempted. And there He didn't eat for 40 days. There was no water, no food. And then the tempter comes. If you're the Son of God, you can produce your own meat. Can you? Jesus knew that He was the Son of God. And as a Son of God, He would trust the Father that He will provide for His needs. And if not, He recognizes His complete incapacity as a human to make Himself the food. He is aware of who He is. Yes, He was in the back, God. He could have made as a God bread out of stones, but as a God, you don't need food. As a God, you don't need nothing. You live from yourself. You have no needs. But Jesus was human. And in His humanity, He was hungry. In His humanity, He was weak at the point of death. And now He could use His divine power to rescue His humanity. But if He would do that, He would prove that as a human, He would not trust God. But He didn't do that because He knew He was the child of the Father. And whatever the Father brings in His life, it's okay to wait until the bread comes. Did Jesus know His dependency? Yes, when He was put on the temple's roof to jump down, He knew that He was dependent on God. He did not need a proof of this dependency. He didn't need a miracle to see that God is with him because he knew it. And he would not tempt God to do something that then God needs to rescue him while God has not asked him to jump. And then when he was offered this world from the hands of Satan, he knew that everything that anyone offers to him comes from his Father. That's why he says, I take it from my Father, thank you. You have nothing to offer. I cannot worship you because you have nothing I can worship, because there is nothing that I can take from you. So how could Jesus overcome temptation? Because this was not the only temptations. He went through life being always in difficult circumstances, being in conflicts, being accused, at the end mocked, beaten, crucified, and still he overcame. Through which power? How did he do that? In order to understand this, we must understand the law of heredity. It's me or you. We are humans. And I have a father and a mother as you have. Because I am 50-50 from each side. I have 50% spirit of my father and I have 50% body of my father. I have 50% spirit of my mother and I have 50% body of my mother. That's why I have physical signs that I come from both of them. And I have spiritual signs. I have spiritual tendencies that my father and my mother has. Because that proves I'm coming from them. Yes, from Adam, but they are just giving the life of Adam. They're passing it to me on. But what they have as inheritance, as identity, is the deception. They inherit to me the lie that I am a God. And yes, with this lie, I am separated from God. There is nothing that binds me to God. I'm completely unable to do anything good. This is my condition that is written here in Romans 3 when it says, no one is righteous. No one. No one does anything good. No one. Everything is evil in us. This is our condition. We only can bind in faith and trust to mother and father, to humans. Can I ever do anything good out of this? Can I ever overcome any outward temptation? Not taking myself prison? Not answering to that call that comes from outside? There's no way. In this nature that we are born, no matter what you do, it's wrong. And out of this, you can never do anything good. So it's just the grace of God. And that's why we need to understand the nature of Christ. He was divine from eternity. And the greatest miracle and unexplainable miracle is the attaching of the human being to divinity. But what is not something that we cannot know is his human nature. His human nature is revealed in the Bible as he comes from father and mother according to the law. He has 50% of his spirit from his father, and he has 50% of his body from father. And he has 50% of his spirit from his mother, and he has 50% of the body from his mother. So, it's very evident. Jesus inherits from his father because he was conceived through the Holy Spirit. Now, some people say, well, could the Holy Spirit make sperm? Of course. Everything God made. So, can he not make a sperm? Can he not make the other part of the chromosomes that the mother's egg needs in order to come together for a whole body and for a whole spirit? There's no impossibility here for God. So Jesus inherits as a son of God and a son of man as a human, inherits from his father the right nature. He inherits the right identity, the truth. And in the truth, he connects in the moment of conception. That's why Jesus never sinned. He didn't sin as a baby while he was growing up as a fetus in his mother's womb. Because from the beginning, he was connected to his father. He inherited from his mother this nature, but as he had the good nature, he connected only through the good. So being connected to his father, being conscious that he's a child of God, the Son of God, he could never sin in this state. He could only sin if he could doubt this state. And he could only use his divinity if he would have used his human, sinful nature. Now some people come and say and think, Jesus was like us. Yes, he was like us. And Romans 8 says, he was like that. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. So yes, Jesus came into the flesh. He inherited the flesh from his mother, but he could never kill the flesh in himself through the flesh. But this is the preaching of the most conservative Adventists. They believe that Jesus overcame his sinful nature in sinful nature, which is impossible. That's a total impossibility. In this nature, you have never a choice. You can do only evil. You are always wrong. And when I say you have never a choice to do good, you have choices to do evil all the time, but you have no choice to do good. Jesus did not overcome his sinful nature through sinful nature. He overcame it in sinful nature, but through the truth. Because this was his advantage. And we say, well, he could not have an advantage. Friends, it's not about an advantage. If he would have not come half from his father, if he would have had an earthly father, he could never overcome, because there is no way out of that life. We are all dead. No chance for doing anything good. Jesus overcame through his inherited truth that he inherited from his father. And he destroyed the inheritance that he had from his mother in himself. That is what the Bible says here. That is what we need to understand. We can only, through a new nature, overcome the old. So Jesus did it. He crucified his sinful nature, and he never sinned. When he shouted, "It is finished," it was done. And that was the expulsion. That happened then. God, sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. He condemned it. He expelled that sinful nature, the cause of all evil. It was gone. And he killed the whole human being because he entered into a dead life in which there is no outcome. He killed the second death on the cross before he died. And then he died the first death in order to come out as a new human being. At resurrection, Jesus was the firstborn Son of God. He is God's new creation. He is the second Adam. He is the new man, forever connected to God. He is our heritage. He is our righteousness. This is that which says in the next verse, it says, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So through his grace, I can be born again. I can see my sinful nature, and through his grace give it up in order to take the new life. And when I take the new life, I connect to God through the new life. Before I have no connection. I have only a connection to God through the resurrection. I connect to God having the new life of Jesus. By this, now my earthly father is not my father anymore. God is my father. My mother is not my inheritance anymore. It's God is my inheritance. And now through this nature, I overcome the old one. So I must first come together with the power of God in the new birth until I will remove sinful nature out of me. Through what? Well, through the same life that Jesus lived. He lived it on earth in the connection to his Father. And I live it through faith. I take his new life, and by this I connect to him. And I make party with God. I mean, we are now on one side. We are not anymore on different sides. No. Through Christ, I am on the side of God. And now we unite in one thing to destroy sinful nature in me. We are partners. We are partners for the same sake, to destroy that nature. That's why Christ brings the crucible in our lives, so that we can see the self-deception is still active. We are born again, but there comes out in the crucible that we don't trust God. Comes out that we are taking ourselves in prison. We are still in the cage of deception. And now he gives us, being one with him, we together can destroy the cause. You see, people are sad when they sin. Yes, sin is just the outcome of deception. But now they want to destroy that sin, to have just forgiveness for that. They want the action should be taken away, but not the cause of the action. And that's not salvation. This is a battle that doesn't help no one. Salvation means I come together, I partner with God to destroy my old nature. This is with Christ in the crucible. When I sin, I don't go to God and say, Lord, forgive me my sin. I'm not interested in that, because that's not my problem. I want to not deceive myself anymore, so that whenever a circumstance comes, I act through the love of God. But as long this other thing is still there, I must see it, because it is not killed at once. Oh, I would be very happy it would have been killed at once. It takes the power of God, His patience, and my endurance together to fight our common enemy, this terrible deception in me. He and I, only together, we can fight it. But now religion comes and says, no, you need to be good before you can be accepted with God. So fight sin again, fight sin, go to God and ask forgiveness that He might forgive you, not to punish you and to kill you, and then He will accept you. And in Jesus, He has brought the forgiveness so that you're okay. Friends, that doesn't work. That is deception. Jesus overcame His sinful nature because He had the good and truthful nature of His Father in His heart. And through that, He was connected to Him. He overcame in the truth against the error. He was partner with God. The only way you and I can overcome is when we partner with God in the new birth against our common enemy, which is the deceitful heart in which we are born, the cage that keeps us in prison. That is the thing that is our enemy. That is what needs to be taken away. But we can do it only if we are partner with Him. And most people have not understood that. They want to be holy before they partner with Him. They want to do the good out of sinful nature, which is impossible. Only through the power of God. But we have no access to that power except through Christ, except through the new life. By this new life, by knowing that I am through Christ, my Father's Son, He and I have a common enemy, that is the deception. And together we work. He brings the things in my life so that I can see it. And then I don't complain because it comes out. I complain because it still exists. That's why together with Him, I can overcome. The crucible brings out who I really believe I am, because that brought out in Christ. He knew who He was. And if I know who am I, my heart is connected to God, I am one with Him, and we will win against the enemy. That's why the Bible is so clear when it says God was in Christ, reconciling the world to Himself. What a deep saying and understanding. So through Christ, we come to be one with God, and we will destroy our sinful nature. Reconciling with God means to be pure, because He is pure and we will be pure. That's reconciliation. In whom the heart trusts comes out in the crucible. If I am His child, will come out His love. But if there is still the deception, that will come out, and then I go to my Father and I want with Him together solve the cause. I can do it only in this co-working. And this co-working must be a peaceful co-working. We are father and son. Yes, we have an issue. And we can only overcome this issue together. Without having Him, I cannot overcome. That's why I don't try. He must help me realize the deception, so that with Him, partnering, making it to me understandable, I will take out and destroy that nature until one day I will cry, I will shout, it is finished. The day will come when we are going to be perfect. That's why He sits to cleanse us. Because only as we are getting to this point, only in that we can become the sons of Levi that can bring offerings in righteousness. Before, it's impossible. It must be taken away. It must be mortified before we can bring the offerings. Now I don't know how God will do that and how I will work together with Him. So He works from outside that I might see it, and I work from inside with Him together to destroy it. And step by step, we will get to the finish line. And I desire nothing more than I desire nothing more than to be free from the cage I was born in. From that inner cage that makes me a prisoner. And the shout of victory that we will shout that day will be a great one. From our whole being, we will cry, it is finished.